The big story, 15 games canceled or postponed today. That includes 4 alone in the SEC. The College Football Playoff Committee, they have already pushed back their selection day 2 weeks to December 20th. Curious, what conversations are there to consider pushing back the start of the playoffs to give college football a chance to make up some of these games?
Rob, I talked to a lot of power brokers around the sport this week, and they are all over the map about whether the CFP calendar can or even should be moved in wake of all these cancellations and postponements. Now, here's the timeline to sort out. January 1st is the day when the semifinal games are scheduled. If you try to push the games back, you run into very few viable TV windows because the NFL playoff structure has been expanded this year. On the other part of this to keep in mind, Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, I talked to him this week, and he made the case that if you want to expand the playoffs, he thinks it makes it that much more difficult to complete the playoff. So there's a lot of stuff that is being sorted out. And one person made a key point, I thought, which is when we've seen a lot of other flexibility from all the other sports about how they've set up their timelines to get a playoff in, college football has no centralized leadership. The CFP has the most tentacles and is going in all sorts of different directions. It's a process that has never been very flexible. And now you're asking a process that has been entirely inflexible to make a lot of decisions on the fly.
Bruce hit a buzzword we're going to jump on in a second. Bruce, a little bit more on Alabama and Ohio State and their off weeks with you in a moment. But this week, we have 7 of the top 8 in the AP poll have had to deal with at least one cancellation this season. Flexibility, we all agree across the board. It has to be an option for the College Football Playoff Committee, but there are precious few flexible options for programs, Coach, that are in the hunt to get themselves in the playoffs, and you know this firsthand.
Yeah, down the road, maybe. Not now. Just keep going. One step ahead of each other. What do you think was going to happen? Of course, we all knew that something would happen. Be adaptable, move forward. But as of now, don't change the college football playoff situation at all. The committee has a job. Pick the 4 best teams. What's that mean? Let's find out what happens. More importantly, you know what? The players and coaches, their job, leave nothing to doubt. That means you get a chance to step on the throat, give everything you got. And you see some teams, you saw Cincinnati put up a bunch of points yesterday. That's their job. Yeah. You have to do that. So I don't want to hear the fans and the people. That's the way it is. I've been there. You have to do that. You know why? Your job as a coach, protect your players, protect your university, get in that playoff. At what cost? At all cost.
Yeah, control what you can control, Coach. But also, when you said, let's see what happens, that's kind of my issue with the playoff committee, the criteria that they are going to use. It's always a question every single year. Right now, you know, Brady's Notre Dame Irish, they're in the top 4. We know the top 4 football teams, but in about 3 or 4 weeks, that can change because of the postponements and because of the cancellation. So why not have the option of being flexible, give themselves another game to make up? Look at Wisconsin's played 1 game. They might finish the season with 4-0. Who knows? So I think they need to be able to be flexible week in and week out. Also, listen, I love college football. These players, these coaches, they fought so hard to get back on the football field. If they can play an extra game, give them that opportunity.
There's an inequity in scheduling, and more so than ever, Urban, your point, that eye test is going to be in play. Maybe take away some of the eye test by having real value being played out on the field. You know how you maybe find another way to correct things? The NFL, what are they doing to the playoffs this year? Expansion, baby.
I think this is a time for expansion as well. When you think about March Madness, right, what makes March Madness so special? It's the opportunity for some of these Cinderella teams to match up and see how they measure up against some of the best team that the sport has to offer. So I think about Cincinnati, who played great football last night. We just talked about BYU, Coastal Carolina, Texas A&M, maybe even Florida. I don't want to see these teams get left out of the college football playoff system because I think they're too good. And we've missed out on so much football, so many great games because of that. So I come up with an 8-team playoff bracket. Now, to get an automatic berth into the playoffs, you have to win your conference.
Notre Dame 6?
5 Power 5 conference winners, Brady. Hold on, win with Quinn. All right? Alabama versus BYU. Who wouldn't want to see Zach Wilson versus Mac Jones? And then I do project that Clemson will win the ACC, and they would see Notre Dame again in this playoff bracket.
A trilogy?
Man.
Wow, that'd be
a trilogy, Brady. But this is what a true playoff system, I think, would look like for the college football right now, and I would love to see some of those games. I truly would.
I'm with you. I'm all for expansion. Maybe this is the year to do it because of all the complications due to COVID. I'm not sure I agree with your rankings there. But I want to point out something different because I think right now we're having a hard time even getting there. And one of the issues is obviously there's a number of positive cases. But contact tracing is also, I think, an issue why you're seeing a number of teams have to cancel games because of those players who are in proximity around players who actually do have COVID. But there's some players who don't, and they don't have the ability to test out of it. So you've got to be flexible like the NFL was. If you look at how the NFL began the season, they initially didn't have the ability to test out. Now they do. Look, it's all about player safety and making sure these players are taken care of from a health standpoint. But let's also provide those guys who are healthy, who are quarantined, the opportunity to test out of it due to contact tracing and come back to play so we can finish some of these games.
I think at some point you might have to adapt, and Reggie, I think that's great, and I think we should do that every week. However, I think right now just keep pushing forward. The contact tracing part, to me, I still don't understand that. I still don't understand why kids are not testing. There's testing negative, but they can't play.
Right.
And once again, that's above our pay grade, I guess. Reggie, you're in charge of that.
It's not above your. It's not above your pay grade. I've seen your pay stubs. You're in charge of making a lot of decisions.
Start your Saturday strong at 10 Eastern with a legendary college football lineup on the Big Noon Kickoff Show. Big Noon Kickoff on Fox.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here. College football on Fox.